Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Just having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, but we're not going to let it stop us. It is Thursday morning. Yes, it is. It is 10:01. I am broadcasting 1 minute late. I hope you guys forgive me, please. But that means 10 a.m. Thursday morning, coming to you via Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn is Her Investing Coffee Talk with yours truly, Jessica Perrone. Yay! I can hear the crowd go wild. Yeah. Yeah, maybe not, maybe not. But good morning to you. Thank you guys for joining every Thursday morning, and also all of those that have been watching my videos online as well. It really is amazing, the response and how many people are watching the show. So thank you guys so much. It makes me feel so good that you guys come back week after week and practice your language of money and investing. So, good morning and happy St. Patty's Day for you. I'm wearing my green here, my green dress, my green frock, so to say. What I did realize is that I don't have much green in my wardrobe. I was like going through, I'm like, no, I don't have much green. I don't. So I might need to rectify that for next year. But I did find this lovely little frock here. My name is Jessica Perrone. I am the founder of Her Financial IQ. Yeah, I used to be in finance. Yeah, I was in finance for 16 years. And a few years ago, I left to be a stay-at-home mom. I continued to trade. And what I realized in this journey is the anxiety that women have when it comes to money and investing. So that is how Her Financial IQ came about. It came about as a way for me to educate women and teach them and create a dialogue with women so that they don't feel that investing in money is so scary. Yeah. So I actually do this in a few ways. One of the ways is I have my classes and my school where I offer classes that start from very easy concepts like what to do before investing, all the way up to advanced trading concepts. Yeah, so it's some really fun classes out there. I also have my workshops that I offer through different organizations out there. And I actually have a couple announcements of a couple more workshops that are coming up that I'm so excited about. Yes. And then I also have my Her Investing Coffee Talk, where I go through the news of the week and different concepts that I'm seeing out there that maybe you just need to explain a little bit better for you so that you understand it. And I'm not saying dumb it down. Absolutely not. You are smart. You are here. You are intelligent. You are strong. It's just that there's been some people out there that make this stuff seem really hard. And that's my job here. My job is to make it approachable and fun so you don't feel intimidated by these concepts anymore. Yeah, so that's my goal here. So I'm so glad that you guys come back week after week after week. So my announcements. Okay, so here's the announcements of the week. So my April classes are posted. Yes, they are. They are online. They are at herfiniq.com. And you can see all of my April offerings there. You can also catch me next week. So the Coco here in Summit, New Jersey is putting on a lunchtime conversation next week. It's called Your Money. I am part of the panel. Yes, there's some really smart people that are going to be part of the panel talking about your money. And if you are not familiar with the Coco, it is a really wonderful and inviting and warm women's workspace here in Summit, New Jersey. That takes place next Thursday, 3/24 at 12:15. It is free for Coco members, and there is a slight cost for women that are not members. Second announcement is I'm going back to Vegas. Yes. So the Money Show, which holds the Traders Expo, invited me back. I'm so excited about this. So I'm going back to Vegas. That is going to be Wednesday, May 11th. I'll be holding a workshop from 12:30 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. And that is her investing sense for beginners. Yes. So whereas the Traders Expo has to do with trading resources, this is the Money Show. It's all about money and investing resources. If you have a chance, definitely come on out, check out all the workshops, all the vendors. I'm telling you, the Traders Expo was so much fun. I'm so excited to go back. Yay! And then my third or fourth announcement, I don't know, my fourth is that I am putting together a new workshop coming out in May. Keep an eye out for the date, but I am doing a making sense of crypto workshop. So I've had so many people come out to me and say, hey, I want to learn about crypto. I don't know anything about crypto. This is so confusing to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting together the making sense of crypto workshop, and it's going to be a guide for beginners. So that's going to come out in May. So definitely keep an eye out for that. You can see links to everything I talk about, all the events, all the workshops, all the free resources in the summary for the show. There's a Linktree link, and that will take you to all my links should you want more information on all these things. So with that said, go to your Linktree link and grab your identifying investment worksheet, because we are going to start talking about some stocks today. And today's stocks are inspired by St. Patty's Day. Yes, and may you have the luck of the Irish today, and that you find that pot of gold. So it's actually a really big day, whether it's Dublin or New York City or Boston or whatnot, for lots of merriment, if you know what I mean. So I am going to be talking about alcohol in this show. So if you do not want your kids or your teens to be listening to this type of stuff, then maybe this is not the investing coffee talk for them today. But if you don't mind, then go ahead. But for the most part, today's show is meant for the adult listener. Okay. So for all of those who are familiar with St. Patty's Day, the last few years, the New York City parade has been canceled. And all the shenanigans that go on in the pubs and bars on St. Patty's Day. And when I talk about shenanigans, I mean heavy drinking. Yes. And I was actually thinking about a couple things when I was thinking about St. Patty's Day today. I was thinking about my days in Boston, and going to the Southie St. Patty's Day parade. Talk about shenanigans. Yes, that was huge. And also trying to cross the St. Patty's Day parade in New York City, trying to go to clients. Like trying to cross through the parade to get from one side to the other. That was pretty funny. Yeah. How does Jessica cross the road in front of a St. Patty's Day parade? Well, very carefully. No, they were all really nice and I got across, but I had to leapfrog it across the road. But I think my biggest memory, St. Patty's Day memory that came bubbling up today, was the day that I was in Dublin. And let me tell you, I absolutely love Dublin. It is an amazing city. And I actually went there sick as a dog. I did. And that's where I got hooked on hot toddies. I don't know if you know what a hot toddy is, but it's basically like a hot whiskey drink. And let me tell you, I swear to gosh, this whiskey drink, it cured me. It cured me. And so you need Irish whiskey for this. And I'm going to actually talk about Jameson Irish whiskey in a little bit. But the part that I remember the most about Dublin And of course, if you know me, it has to be a horse story because I love horses. But so here am I, I'm by myself. And what I do, I talk to people. Go figure, me talking to random people everywhere. And so I was like, you know what? I saw the carriage rides, just like they have in Central Park, they have in downtown Dublin. I'm like, hey, let me take a carriage ride. So I'm actually, it's just me. So I'm like, and the driver's like, hey, why don't you sit next to me so that, we can actually talk and I can tell you about all the sites and all the history. So here am I in the carriage with this gentleman. He's telling me all about the story of the history about Dublin. And he hears that I'm a horsewoman and he actually hands me the reins. Yeah, so here am I driving a buggy, a horse-drawn buggy downtown Dublin. Yeah, down the street in downtown Dublin. That was an amazing idea. That was an amazing story. That was just something that I look back at just in amazement. When I think about St. Paddy's Day and Ireland and all these wonderful thoughts that just come bubbling up. So with that said, back to the party. So when I think of St. Paddy's Day, I think of a lot of drinking. So some alcohol companies that come to mind. The first one is Diageo, yes, and that ticker is DEO. They actually make Guinness. Yes, Guinness, of course, Guinness, yes, on St. Paddy's Day. Pernod Ricard, that ticker is PDRDY. And that's the distributor and maker of Jameson Irish whiskey, which was used in my hot toddy. And whenever I'm like deathly ill, I don't get sick very often, but whenever I'm deathly ill, that's my new medicine. I'm not joking. Hot toddies for when you're deathly ill. Yes. Yeah, try it out. Or maybe don't. And then we also have Constellation Brands. That ticker is STZ. Now, you might not be drinking Coronas on St. Paddy's Day, but there will definitely be a lot of beer drinking. And actually, Corona Light is my beer of choice. And I'm actually going to be drinking Corona Light tonight for beer. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. I'm not a big Guinness fan. So I'll be raising a Corona toast tonight as well. Okay, so, and then we also have Anheuser-Busch, right, which is Budweiser. They also do Michelob Light and Natty Light. Yeah, they do Natty Light. And yes, I actually, I promise I won't start singing some country western songs as I say Natty Light. And that ticker is Bud, BUD for Anheuser-Busch. And then we also have Brown-Forman. And that is the maker of Jack Daniels. Yes, it is. And that ticker is BF.A or BF.B. Yeah, so those are some alcohol stocks for this fun-filled, shenanigan-filled day of heavy drinking from Dublin and the UK and the East Coast all the way to the West Coast of the US. Yes. Now, if okay, there's actually one more. And I know I mentioned Southie, right? I mentioned Southie, but there's one more beer distributor that we need to talk about that has to do with Boston, and that's Boston Beer Company. That ticker is SAM, and that is the maker of Sam Adams. Now, on the more serious side of things, I also did a search of some of the top Irish companies, like real companies, beyond just the drinking induced, St. Paddy's Day companies. And there is actually a really great article by Yahoo out there that had the top 5 Irish companies that are trading on the U.S. Stock Exchange. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying trading on the U.S. Stock Exchange because there are Irish companies that trade on, for example, the European Stock Exchange. But as investors and traders in the US, we're focusing on US listed stocks. Okay, does that make sense? Okie dokie. So a few of the Irish companies trading on the US Stock Exchange here. Number 1 is Accenture PLC. That ticker is ACN. You'll find that in the tech sector. It's a Fortune 500 company. It's headquartered in Dublin. And in 2020, it generated $44.3 billion in revenue. Yeah, so that would be Accenture. And then we have AerCap Holdings. That ticker is AER. That company is actually in the industrial sector. And what they do is they engage in the lease, financing, sale, and management of commercial aircraft and engines in China, Hong Kong, Macau, the United States, in Ireland, and internationally. So yeah, so an airplane management company. How about that? Okie dokie. And that would, so again, that's AerCap, and the ticker is AER. Then we will think of Bank of Ireland Group. That ticker is BKRIF. It is in the financials sector. And I don't know if you know this, but the Bank of Ireland is the oldest continuously operating bank in Ireland. It actually first opened its doors on June 25th in 1783. Yes, that's Bank of Ireland Group, and that ticker again is BKRIF. I also have Ryanair as part of my list here. Ryanair is also part of industrials, and that is Ireland's low-cost airline. That ticker is RYAAR. Again, that's Ryanair Holdings. It's in the industrial sector, and that's Ireland's low-cost airline. So lastly here, I have CRH, which is in the material sector. See, I noticed I'm trying to like get Irish stocks that are in different sectors here for you. You notice this? You notice that's definitely something I try to do. So CRH PLC is in the materials sector, and it's the manufacturer and distributor of building materials, again, headquartered in Dublin. And CRH is ranked as the largest Irish company, having grown steadily into an industrial powerhouse since its inception. Sure, yeah. So, okay, just to recap here, for St. Paddy's Day, we were talking about our shenanigans. Yes, the shenanigans that happen on St. Paddy's Day, which include the St. Paddy's Day parties and drinking and all the merriment had at the bars. And we were talking about the different types of alcohol stocks out there. And then we also talked about some of the largest Irish companies trading on the U.S. stock exchange as well. Okay, moving on here to In the Life of Mom, right? Of course, we have to see what Jessica's been noticing in her life of mom. So what's going on in her life of mom? So I heard about rumblings. I heard rumblings from my friends about how spring break hotels are sold out in Miami. Yes, and we actually saw some headlines last week about from Visa, right? How spending on experiences have been picking up. So this is just an ongoing concept that we're seeing in our day-to-day lives. That yes, people are traveling, people are out there, they want to do things. They're like, I'm sick of the winter, I'm ready to get out. So that's what people are doing. And another experience that I saw, I went to a comedy show last Saturday night. I went to support a friend who is a comedian, and it was packed. It's like a 5 o'clock show, and it was completely packed. And I was surprised. I was like, wow, in the little, it was in a town next to my little town in New Jersey. And this comedy show was absolutely packed. I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. So we see people going out for experiences, yes. And then I also noticed that the parks are prepping the baseball diamonds, getting ready for spring sports. So we're going to start thinking about different ways that potentially we can take advantage of spring sports when it comes to investing. And I'll actually talk about that in the upcoming weeks here. I went to a social networking event last Thursday, and there I really noticed that people were dressed up dapper. Yeah, like during COVID, people are staying home, they're not really dressing up. But as people are returning to the office, they're going to social networking events. I was like, wow, look at all these people. They're all like looking spiffy. It looked like it was new clothes because they're nice and starched and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, So people are starting to spend money on, nice business attire a little bit. So, and what's also funny is that this morning on my recycling walk, I actually saw a couple J. Crew boxes as well in the recycling. So yeah, people are going back to the office, they're going to networking events, and they're saying, hey, I need to spend some money on my wardrobe. I got to do an update here. Right, so maybe we'll see some movement in the retail sectors as well in the future. So we're going to keep an eye out for that trend. Another trend that I noticed, I was at HomeSense, tons and tons of spring stuff. But what was interesting was how many products were made in India. So what we've seen is a lot of supply chain issues coming out of China, right? And we do have another lockdown happening. It's been in the news that there's another wave of COVID in China right now, and there are lockdowns happening. So what I feel like is happening by just seeing what's going on at HomeSense and seeing all these India products being on the market is that maybe these retailers are saying, look, we need to find other sources for our products. So maybe we're going to move away from China a little bit. So we're also going to keep an eye out for those trends as well. And then another item that I noticed in my everyday life was no almond milk. Again, second week in a row, very little almond milk at my grocery store. I don't know. That's 2 weeks in a row. I'm not sure if that's a trend yet, but we'll talk about that. I'll keep an eye out for that trend as well. And then the last trend here, also on the retail side and the clothing side, is the fact that my youngest daughter had a growth spurt, and with spring weather, this unseasonable, really super warm weather here, guess what we did? We did some spring shopping for some spring and summer clothes, and I have a feeling that with the unseasonably warm weather, other people were doing that too. What about you guys? How much shopping are you guys doing for spring clothes? Have you been doing it for your kids? Have you been doing it for yourself? Have you noticed that you want to do wardrobe upgrades? Are you going back to work? Do you need upgrades? So these are all things that you can sort of feel from your everyday life that potentially could roll out into investing opportunities. So we're going to be looking forward to earnings. Yes, we're going to look forward to the earnings of these retailers in the future. Yeah, and see if our hypotheses are correct here. So all of this sounds really fun and jovial, right? Really fun and jovial, but bam, guess what happened to me last week? And it wasn't so fun, and it wasn't so jovial, and it did leave me crying. I had a water heater issue. Yes, I did. I had a water heater issue, and it was an emergency. I went to the shower. I turned it on, no water. It was no water. And then I go to I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's going on? No water, no water. I go downstairs to the basement, water spilling everywhere. Yes. And then, so luckily I knew where the house water turnoff was. And ladies, please, after this broadcast, go find out where your house water turnoff is. Okay, please do that, because it will definitely save you lots of money in damage, because water caused damage is huge. It is absolutely huge. Okay, to make a long story short, $6,000 later, $6,000 later, new water boiler, and all these other things that came along with it. Yes. And I cried. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cried. But the good news was I had an emergency fund. And this is where, yes, water itself is expensive too. Yes, Adina, for sure. But this is where I'm going with this point, ladies. This is where I'm going with this point. The point is the importance of emergency funds. Yes, I had an emergency fund, and I still cried. But what I started thinking about was, what would have happened if I did not have my emergency fund? And this is especially so because the markets had sold off, right? So my retirement account, my investing accounts, those were down. And that was normal, because most accounts of that nature were down because the markets were down, right? But because I had an emergency fund, I was able to use the funds that I have in the emergency account and not have to touch my investing accounts. Yeah, I did not have to touch those, because if I would have had to touch those, I would have had to take the money out at a loss. And so, to add insult to injury, I have all these costs going on with my water heater. And okay, I won't go on into the other things. If you want to hear the sagas that happen with that, if you want to hear the saga that has to do with that, please message it. I'm more than happy to rant and rave. But no joke, like it just dominoed all the issues that happened after that one thing. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Okay, so with that said, there's emergencies happen. They do. And here's some examples of emergencies that do happen and why you want to have an emergency fund. So the first one is job loss. Yes, job loss is a huge thing. And we saw that happen during COVID, right? Like now, though, we have, people are trying to hire left and right. People are trying to get hired. So your likelihood of getting hired is a lot higher than it was in COVID. But during COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs. And if they didn't have the emergency fund, they might have to live off their credit cards. And if you're living off your credit cards and you can't pay that off on a monthly basis, then you have interest rates. And then if you have those really super high interest rates of at least 23%, that's ridiculous. You are just burning money. You're burning money. And that you can prevent burning money like that by having an emergency fund. Yes, you can. So then you have major health and dental expenses. Yeah, that stuff is expensive too. Emergency pet care. Yes, emergency pet care. Oh my gosh. We love our pets. I couldn't imagine anything happening to my poor Lucy. But, if something did happen to her, I spend whatever it is, well, almost, yeah. Oh, yes, whatever it is to keep her safe, because she is like my family. She is the love of my life. So emergency pet care, car repairs, right? How do you get to work if you do not have a car, right? So you have car repairs. That's super important. And believe it or not, you guys, I know, I'm so sorry, Jasmine, I don't mean to stress you out, but this is real life. It's real life. And it's better to be prepared. Okay. So, and then car repairs, no joke, the day after my water boiler, yeah, right, day after, I get a change oil sign on my car. Yeah, go figure. One bag's a flat tire. Knock on wood. I need the luck of the Irish. No flat tires. No, thank you. And then we also have things like bigger than expected tax bills, home repairs. This is what I've been going through, home repairs. And anticipated travel. What if someone's sick and you have to go take care of them? And also funeral costs. I know that's really a sad thing to think about, but funeral costs, yes, those are expensive as well. So your rules of emergency funds is that you want 3 to 6 months of expenses, depending on how secure your job industry is. So, for example, if you're a freelancer, you don't have regular work, you're going to want a larger cushion. But if your field is super in demand and you have recruiters knocking on your door left and right, well, you might be able to get away with 3 months. Okay, so that's sort of like the rule there, depending on how in demand your fields are. Now, the reason why you want to keep your emergency funds out of the market is exactly what we saw with COVID, and also with my water heater issue. If my emergency funds would have been in the markets, right, I would have taken a hit in taking them out, because the market sold off, the value of my investments were down, and if I would have had to take them out, right, I would have taken it out at a loss, right? So that is one of the reasons why you do not want to have your emergency fund in the markets. And you want it in a place that's easily accessible. So what you may want to look at is and consider are high yield savings accounts. So high yield savings accounts are savings accounts with better yields than your traditional brick and mortar banks. They are usually offered by online banks that don't have so much overhead. Yes, they are. There are legit ones out there, and if it's FDIC insured, you can be pretty confident in the reliability of that online bank. Now, bankrate.com, that's bankrate.com, has a really great resource where you can actually see the different types of yields for high yield savings accounts. Yes, you can actually see it there. Now, I do want to say maybe you don't want to put your emergency fund in CDs. Okay. What the reason being is that you are actually so with a CD, you are locking in an amount of money for a term. Okay. And so with that said, if you need to take money out, you will actually be penalized to take it out of the CD. And what we noticed with Bankrate is that if you look at your CDs, if you look at your money markets, if you look at your high yield savings account, the amount that you actually improve with a CD or a money market compared to a high yield savings account is not that big. It's not that big. So these are all things to keep in mind as you are looking at these things. And speaking of high yield savings accounts and yields on savings accounts, guess what? Yesterday, we had a big announcement from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve approved the first interest rate hike in more than 3 years and sees 6 more interest rate hikes ahead. So with that said, that not only increases the yield of your savings account, but it also increases the interest rates on different monies being loaned out by banks. Okay, so where this is really super good for savers, yeah, it's so much better for savers because you're getting more return, right, for actually saving your money. So that's actually better. However, what could this be for the consumer? What that maybe this not be so good for? Did that make any sense? Am I speaking proper English? I'm sorry. What may this not be so good for? Oh my goodness. So what it will make is loans more expensive for the consumer. Now, it'll be better for the banks because the banks can actually charge more for their loans, right? And therefore it'll translate to profits, right? But could this possibly be bad for what market? What market do you think maybe this could be bad for? Well, this could possibly be bad for the housing market. And so I'm already seeing headlines like this. So this was from CNBC just yesterday, and it was mortgage demand falls as interest rates surge to multi-year highs. So potentially you see mortgages, right? Mortgage demand fall, which in turn may mean that your housing demand may fall as well. And I see all these comments going on, this lively conversation going on in the chat. I don't have a chance to really look at it right now. I will read it later, but I'm so excited that you guys are having these lively conversations and these debates in the chat, because this is what it's all about. It's all about having you guys join in on the conversation, and I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much for the conversation. It is awesome. So another concept that we've been talking about recently in our coffee talks is inflation. Yes, and inflation is basically, just very easily said, it is everything costing more. Everything costing more. And we see inflation on oil prices because of the Russia-Ukraine war. We are seeing the prices of products go up because of bottlenecks. We are seeing the cost of labor go up because, you know what, it's so hard for employers to actually hire. And now when they do hire, they have to pay more because everything else is so much more expensive, right? So you see the cycle that's happening, this snowball effect, so to say. So I saw a headline though. So we were talking about inflation, but now there is a new concern, and this new concern is actually stagflation. So what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to give you guys a little lesson on what stagflation is. And historically, the last time the US saw stagflation and what happened there. So basically, this headline came out of Seeking Alpha, and so the headline reads, "Stagflation now expected by a majority of fund managers." And what they're talking about with the fund managers, with professionals on the street. And they go on to say 6 in 10 fund managers see stagflation as most likely US economic scenario. And this was according to the latest Bank of America Securities Fund Manager survey. And basically, of the 341 respondents with 1 trillion in assets under management, this March survey says 62% of 62% expect the combination of high inflation and slow growth. And that's up from 30% in February. So basically, they're saying 62% of fund managers compared to 30% of fund managers in February are expecting stagflation. So what is stagflation? What is this term that we are now starting to hear? And it's interesting because when you start hearing things here on the Her Investing Coffee Talk, you do start hearing it out in the market, out in the open, out in the world too. And then you can like say, oh, I know what that is. I know what that was. And you can engage in the conversation. You can feel a little bit better. You can feel smarter. You can be like, yeah, I got this. I got this. I got this term. I got it, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what is stagflation? According to Wiki, stagflation refers to an economy that is experiencing a simultaneous increase in inflation and the stagnation of economic output. So let me say, so increase in inflation, which we have, right? And stagnation of economic output. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so what we are seeing, though, is that we are seeing, sorry, I'm like, oh, okay, there I am. I lost my train of thought here. Okay, so what we are seeing in the US, right, what we have seen in 2021 is that we saw a rebound from COVID, right? We see a rebound from COVID, and then we saw really intense consumer demand. Right? People buy. I want to buy. I want to consume. I want to consume. Right? So that coupled with supply chain issues drove prices up. Okay, so we were just talking about that. Okay, and then we had labor shortages. We've been talking about that. And then we also have food and fuel prices going up. Okay, so with that said, the last time we saw stagflation was actually in the US was actually in the 1970s. And Seeking Alpha has this really amazing article that talks about the scenario. And I wanted to share this with you because there are some parallels of the 1970s, what we saw there, and what we potentially could see here in the US in 2022. So let me just read this excerpt to you right here. So from Seeking Alpha, the most commonly cited example of stagflation is the 1970s oil crisis. In October 1973, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, that's OPEC, declared an oil shipping embargo to the United States. Okay. Sound familiar? Yeah. Well, in the 70s, the oil embargo caused oil prices to increase immediately by over 300%. And so that increased oil prices even after the embargo ended in March 1974. Okay, so at the same time as this oil crisis, we also had the moving of manufacturing jobs outside the US to save on labor costs. Okay, save on labor costs. When I saw that, I thought about all of the automation of jobs. Right now, again, jobs are really super expensive, right? Humans are really super expensive. Workers are really super expensive, and they're hard to find. So we are seeing the automation of workers. And in fact, I have a headline out of Chipotle today in the news section that talks about how they have just launched Chippy. Yeah, Chippy, an autonomous kitchen assistant that integrates culinary traditions with artificial intelligence to make tortilla chips. Yes, so they're automating the making of tortilla chips. So this is almost like what we saw in the 70s, where the US started to ship jobs overseas, right? Because it was so expensive. We're starting to see that happen again, right? But in a different way. We're seeing that with technology and automation. Okay, so, and then the rising expense of the Vietnam War and led to a prolonged period of stagflation where elevated oil prices caused inflation to rise rapidly, unemployment to increase, and the economy to stagnate. Okay, so there's a lot of parallels, right? The only thing that that's not 100% of a parallel is the unemployment. We actually have really, really super strong employment right now, but we do have automation coming. We do have automation coming, so that's going to be an interesting undercurrent to see and how this all works out. But yeah, we are seeing our costs across the board, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it is gas we put into our cars, all of those costs are increasing, and our wages are not increasing as rapidly too. So that's another way that we potentially could have stagflation. But don't you feel so much smarter now that you understand what stagflation is? And you can also like rattle off the 1970s, oil embargo facts as well. So if you have any more questions about that, feel free to write me in my blogs or whatnot. I can't believe I've been talking for 45 minutes already. Oh my goodness, where does this time go? I hope you're enjoying listening to me talk about all this crazy stuff. But now let's move on to the news. Let's move on to the news here. So in the news earlier this week, I saw a headline come across that video games dropped for the 4th month amid hardware slowdown. Well, I think it's more than just a hardware slowdown. I think that the weather is getting nicer. People are getting out of the house more. People are more into experiences. They want to go do things. I think parents are kicking their kids off the couch and saying, get the heck out of here. I'm also thinking people are returning to the workplace. So maybe, where they were like sneaking in some video game playing on work hours, they're actually, have to focus in the workplace. So I think these are some other undercurrents that we are seeing in the video game market as well. Another really interesting headline that I saw come across was a Volvo and Starbucks relationship that's coming out. I don't know if you guys saw this. I saw Tesla charging stations for a really long time at Dunkin' Donuts. Well, Volvo and Starbucks made it official. EV charging and coffee break partnership. Yes, you will be able to charge your Volvo at Starbucks in the near future. So yeah, that's going to be really, really exciting. So the headline reads, Volvo car and Starbucks plan to collaborate to establish the first public electric vehicle charging network at the coffee chain stores in the US. So yeah, we're going to be seeing Volvo charging stations at Starbucks coming up. In the world of NFTs, Mark Zuckerberg says that NFTs are coming to Instagram. We'll see how that plays out. But for sure, if you are able to display your NFTs, kind of like, you used to display your baseball cards or all those trinkets that you hold dear. You know what I'm talking, like those dining room, like what do you call those things? Those dining room things where you show your fancy plates and like your little statues and figurines. I don't even know what that's called anymore. But yes, it will be a virtual place to show your NFT. So that's kind of a neat, interesting development for Instagram and for Meta platforms. So we'll see about that. Curio cabinets. Thank you, Carissa. Thank you. Curio cabinets. Instagram will be the new curio cabinet for NFTs. Okay, so we see that. Just in time for Easter, bird flu is hitting. Yeah, I'm sorry. And that is affecting the price of chicken and the price of eggs. So, yeah, avian influenza is back in the US, forcing farmers to cull flocks and pushing up egg prices at a time of rampant food inflation. The deadly virus has been hitting poultry operations along the East Coast and Midwest, including top producer Iowa, where a farm was recently forced to cull nearly 1 million birds. Yeah, so we are seeing egg prices increase too. And what's interesting, actually, now this kind of this thought popped into my head. So in my family chat, they were talking about food prices going up this summer, and actually, planting gardens this summer so that you have your own vegetables at a less expensive cost. Well, maybe we should start raising our own chickens too. Huh? That's a thought. Raising chickens and growing your own food with such high food prices. Interesting concept. Interesting concept. I love chickens. I've actually thought about that, but you're not allowed to have chickens in my town. Yeah, you can have, believe it or not, you can have pigs, pet pigs. There was actually a family that had pet pigs in my town, but you're not allowed to have chickens. So maybe look at the ordinances and see, because you could raise chickens and have lots of eggs. Okay, moving on. Sunshine Protection Act. Who's heard of the Sunshine Protection Act? Well, the U.S. Senate approved the bill to make daylight savings time permanent. This is out of Reuters. The U.S. Senate on Tuesday passed legislation that would make daylight savings time permanent starting in 2023, ending the twice annual change of clocks in a move promoted by supporters advocating brighter afternoons and more economic activity. Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't know about you guys, but daylight savings time kills me. It really kills me, having to do that. And it makes me so tired. It really does. So I'm actually really excited for that. And then my last headline of the day is out of the Wall Street Journal earlier this week. Part-time retirement programs are on the rise. Workers have longed for a way to ease into retirement while keeping pay and benefits, and most companies are giving it a try. So yes, you don't have to cut off ties with the company. You can ease into retirement. I think that is definitely something that I would want to do. I don't know if I could ever retire. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I need to be like on the go. I need to be doing things. I need to keep my brain in the markets. So I don't think I could ever retire. I think that would be the best of both worlds, being able to work, have your benefits, work part-time, have your benefits, and still start enjoying the benefits of retirement. So we'll see how that works. I talked about Chipotle, CMG, about launching Chippy, the autonomous kitchen assistant. I talked about that. And now we leave you with the quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is, it is St. Paddy's Day inspired, and it is an old Irish blessing. And it goes like this: may you have all the happiness and luck that life can hold. And at the end of your rainbow, may you find a pot of gold. Let me repeat that again to you. This old Irish blessing: may you have all the happiness and luck that life can hold. And at the end of your rainbow, may you find a pot of gold. And this is what I wish for you. I wish for you a healthy, happy, and lucky life. And maybe a pot of gold at the end of your rainbow. And should you want to take your investing journey outside the coffee talks, come see me on my panels, attend my workshops, and of course, April classes are posted online. The schedule's up there. I would love for you guys to join me in my classes. So definitely check it out at www.perrone.com. I'm Jessica Perrone, founder of Her Financial IQ. You've been watching Her Investing Coffee Talk. May the markets be in your favor. Bye now. Bye. Do 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 do.